Hello everybody, Imminent Storm here. Welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. In the last episode we worked on designing and getting into orbit the first components of the eventual manned Duna mission. And so we have our habitation module and our utility module in orbit. Now we just need to get them to rendezvous and dock, which is going to be the tricky bit. And what has complicated that particular bit of maneuvering that we're going to have to do is that once I got the utility module into orbit, I went ahead and detached, deorbited, and recovered the upper stage of the rocket that launched it. But I did that before actually performing the orbital maneuvers needed to perform the rendezvous. So we're going to have to do all of that with RCS thrusters alone. Fun. Not impossible. And in fact, probably in some ways it's going to be better because the RCS thrusters don't have a ton of thrust, so it has a lot of that fine maneuvering capability that we need. But, some of the larger maneuvers like the plane change that we're going to have to do and the transfer orbit we're going to have to establish would have been better to do with a big engine. I mean, I could design an engine and launch it and dock it with that and then push it around, but no, we'll just use the RCS thrusters. It has a big RCS tank, so we should have plenty of fuel for those thrusters to do what we need to do. So, I would say let's go ahead and start work on that. Alright, so going to the tracking station here, and let's find that utility module, which it is right there. Let's go ahead and fly that. Alright, there we are. So first thing we need to do is set that habitation module as a target. And then we need to find the ascending or descending nodes. Well, we're right about to pass the ascending node. So we're not going to have time to set up a maneuver there. So we're going to have to do the maneuver at the descending node. Alright, because we're not quite on plane there, so right about there ought to do it. So 46.9 meters per second. Of delta V. Now, because we are using RCS thrusters instead of a main engine, no, we have no indication of our burn time or anything like that, so I'm gonna have to eyeball it. Alright. Alright, so we have 14 minutes to the node. And I'm just trying to decide when I want to start the burn. I think I probably want to start the burn about probably a little under a minute out from the node, I think. And I'm just kind of winging that in my head. We'll see. Hopefully it'll be fine. Well, if it isn't, then we'll get to the other node, and then we'll make another burn at that particular node. So this is going to be a bit of a process here. So let's get us over to the node. So right about 1 minute to go, and I think right around 45 seconds. And I'm basing that on pretty much nothing. So the nice thing about this particular version of the game, which is different from when I last played Kerbal, is that the actual throttle controls will engage your RCS thrusters if you don't have an engine or fuel in your engine. Actually, it looks like that's going to be pretty close. Not exactly right, but it should be good enough. Actually, looks like we're probably pretty good, but I'm going to go ahead and get that last 3 meters per second. That ought to do. Alright, so if we look at our ascending node and descending node now, we're at 0.0. 0.0. Excellent. Alright, now we're in good position. We're behind our target and we're at a lower orbit, which means we should catch up to it. Orbital rendezvous is always a bit counterintuitive. And so if we want to do a rendezvous burn there, alright, we're going to get two, well, we're not even going to get close. Alright, let's see, if we delay that burn all the way around the orbit, that does get us closer. A lot closer. But still not quite close enough. 60.5 kilometers is a bit too far apart. Let's add an orbit. Okay, so okay, there we go. What does that get us as a rendezvous there? Separation of 0.5 kilometers. Oh, that is perfect. Alright. And then we'll have another intersect, well, 0.5 kilometers. Yeah, 500 meters is exactly kind of where we would want to be for our intersect. Oh! I accidentally pushed the button. Okay, so we have a 44.2 meters per second burn, which is pretty much the same, well, a little bit less than we just did, so that should be fine. Oh, let's actually turn the RCS off to do the orientation here. Alright, but node is in 33 minutes. That shouldn't be a problem. So, starting the burn right around 45 seconds again should be perfect. Alright. So, let's go ahead and warp us around. That's as fast as we can go. Three, 2, 1. Alright. Orient us right onto that node. And wait for T-minus 45 seconds. Oh. Forgot to turn the RCS thrusters back on. Okay, so we now have our intersect. It's at 1.8. Let's see, can I get that closer? Relative speed is going to be 68. Let's see, can I bring that relative speed down a little bit? Get within maybe a kilometer with a lower relative speed. Okay. And then what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to basically bring, let's see, can I add a maneuver there to bring that periapsis up, or the apoapsis up. And I think what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and do the maneuvers relative to the target once we get there. Alright. But that maneuver node should at least give me a timer. So I probably want to warp until we're about 2 minutes away from the maneuver node. And that should give me enough time to begin getting... Oh, well, now we're about 1 minute from the maneuver node. That's all right. That's okay. There's our target. All right. We are closing. So I want to begin slowing us down relative to the target. .2 kilometers is pretty good. We're gonna get a lot closer before I get slowed down. Okay. Hold on. Is that pointing? Yeah, it's pointing towards the target. Okay. Relative velocities are down to about 10 meters per second. Alright, so what I want to start doing is using my RCS thrusters. Actually, hold on. You have to begin pushing that prograde indicator towards that spot there. Okay. There we go. Now we should be heading pretty much directly towards it at about 5 meters per second, which is pretty good. All right. Now, once we get close enough, I'll target its docking port. I'm going to have to make continuous adjustments. There we go. Because we are going around the planet, so relative angles and everything like that are changing, so I'm going to have to constantly make adjustments, but it shouldn't be a problem. Alright. $200 out. We just need to get close enough to it to get a good view of it. I'm actually going to start slowing us down a little bit. Get us down to about 3 meters per second closing speed. Alright. Down to about 1 meter per second. Closing speed. Okay, I think we're coming in at the wrong angle. Definitely coming in at the wrong angle. Alright. So, we are going to need to... let's see. I need to reorient. Well... oh. Wrong buttons. Reorient this so that it intuitively works the way I... Alright, let's slow down even further. Oh, we're getting a little bit too much. Okay, let's make sure that we're properly controlling from here. Alright. And then I want to target... oh. Excuse me. I want to target that docking port, and then we need to begin orienting ourselves to it. Alright. Okay. Now, I do have a mod installed that I have a docking camera. So there we are. Alright. Let's back off a little bit. Alright. So, with the docking camera, as the blue lines are our orientation, the red lines are our position. So I want to get those blue lines lined up so that we're oriented properly with the docking port. Alright. So, I want to set my roll here to 0. So I want these guys to line up exactly. Correct. Alright. And... the docking camera mods make docking so much easier. Okay. Alright, we are on target. Closing at 0.1 meters per second, which is perfect. Just need to make sure we keep making the adjustments as we come in here. Keep that lined up. Maybe we can close a little bit faster. Time to dock, 20 seconds. And I think I can just leave it off. And there we go. We are docked. Excellent. I'll turn that camera off. So we actually probably want to control this whole beast from here now. And there we go. First components docked up. Alright, so we're now going to need to get a propulsion module docked here. We're going to need a return capsule docked to one of these ports. And we're going to need a Duna lander. So yeah. We're registering everything for 5,000 electric charge. We got a bunch of monopropellant because we really hardly touched that tank. Alright, so let's go ahead and head back to the Space Center and begin working on that propulsion module. Oh, I forgot to check one thing. Forgot to check one thing. And I think I'm going to need to actually be flying. Yep, I'm going to have to actually fly it again. Alright, what I need to know is how massive is this vehicle so far? Mass 24,291 kilograms. Okay, so 24 tons. Alright, because that's going to have to help me figure out my Delta V numbers. Alright, back to Space Center now. Okay. So, first thing we need to do is figure out what type of engine we are going to need here, or want. And I have a couple of options. We have our Cryogenic Engines, which are high specific impulse. And the cryogenic fuels are nice because they're fairly low mass. So they're going to be easier to put into orbit. Or we have the atomic rocket motor, which is very high specific impulse, but the engine itself is fairly heavy. It's 2.25 tons, and it takes the heavier fuels. Alright. Somehow I have to simulate a 20+ ton vehicle. Or a 20+ ton load. The heaviest things I think are going to be the capsules. Is there anything even close to this? That's 12 tons. So 2 of these would simulate the mass of our current vehicle. That is a relatively large piece of gear. What is this? Orbital assembly line? Okay, I don't know how any of this stuff works because I've never used it before. But right now, I don't really care. Right now, what I care about is the fact that they have the right mass. So that should be 24 tons between the two of them. 24,156 kilograms. Close enough. Okay, so let's see. If we were to take, say, a fuel tank. Now, with this fuel tank, we're going to need it to be just liquid fuel because the atomic rocket motors just use liquid fuel. They don't use an oxidizer. That would get us 3,167 meters per second at delta V. Okay. How much delta V are we going to need in an ideal transfer to Duna? Total delta V, 1,600. So that would work. Again, excuse me. But that would be cutting it very close for a return trip. Because remember, we don't just need to get there, we need to get back too. So what if we were to say, what's our biggest hydrogen or cryogenic fuel tank? That? Yes. It's going to be this. Okay. And what's our best cryogenic engine in terms of specific impulse in a vacuum? This guy. 1,700 meters per second at delta V. That's enough to get there, but not enough to get back. Okay, and what about the masses of the tanks? So this is 24, this is 38.8, so it adds 14.7 tons? 14.7 tons for that tank. And for this tank running liquid fuel only, adds 13.3 tons. But then we have to look at the engines. We need to look at this. This is a 1.2 ton engine. Okay. And this is a 2.25 ton engine. Thrust is engine. Okay. Oh, it can actually use LH2. It gets better specific impulse, but in the same thrust in a vacuum of 60 kilonewtons. See, this thing is 180 kilonewtons, so it's 3 times as powerful. So you'd need 3 of these engines to equal the same thrust as this engine. And this is 1.2 tons, and this is... I think we're going with an LH2 tank. I think that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be going with a hydrogen tank. Now, if we are going with a cryogenic engine, we have to go with LH2 and OX. But if we are going with the nuclear engine, the atomic engine, we just go with LH2, I believe. What if we slap this atomic engine onto that guy? Toggle mode. There we go. That's 1,000 meters per second at delta V. Because the engine is a lot heavier. And then, the next thing is, what's going to look cooler? I like the shiny gold foil on these engines. On these tanks, I mean. Hold on. Let's see. 458. See, that's the one that... 1695 with that particular engine. The Ulysses engine. 390 kilonewtons. That is good. Doesn't quite have the specific impulse of this guy. That might be the better engine to use. This is the one that actually telescopes out. The Pavonis engine. Okay, but we're going to need to bring a lot more fuel than that. We could bring more tanks. Huh. Uh-huh. What if we were to do this? Oh, this will be so heavy to lift into orbit. Bring all the fuel. That gives us 5,247 meters per second on delta V. That would work. That would absolutely work. Okay. Okay. Alright, so let's reroute that. Okay. And then we can get rid of the simulated payload there. Okay. That is 88 tons. That is 88 tons we would need to get in orbit. Okay, but actually we would need to do a bunch more to get this thing in orbit. I think I'm going with it. Now, it could... I mean, if we actually use that engine, we can do everything we need to. And really help get this thing into orbit. So it's just a matter of getting it to altitude, because if I set this up right, what we could do is we could run some refueling flights to fuel up the vehicle if we have to burn any of this stuff. Or, actually... No. Let's do this in one shot. Let's do this in one shot. So, what's it going to need? It's going to need an RCS tank. Easy enough. It should hopefully not need too much RCS. So I don't think I need to like put a full-on tank there. That's a lot of extra mass. Alright, procedural RCS tank. We need to make it 2.5 meter. And we should be able to get away with that much. Alright, and then we are going to need the docking ring, right? And then we need a probe core to control this thing as it's flying. Which I'll use that same radial probe that I've been using because it works pretty well. Alright, it's going to need some communications. And it's going to need some power. We're going to need some batteries, some small batteries. Nothing too big. Those ought to work. Okay. And then we're going to need some solar panels. That ought to do. Okay. I hope. Yeah, it should be fine. Well, actually, no, that's where I want to put the RCS thrusters. And also, do I want a refueling docking port? Let's see, can we get solar panels in there? That should hopefully work. Alright, so for RCS thrusters, okay, we are going to want thrust power, pitch torque, yeah, we can use that to conserve this. How much is that thing? Mass 0.2 tons? Okay. Which of these RCS thrusters do I want to use? I want one with angled nozzles. Yes. Okay, that's good. And we're going to want a set of RCS thrusters down here as well. Actually, if we're going to do that, we go with 6 and go with these. Okay. That should hopefully provide what I need. Alright. And actually, if we're probably going to do that, let's make sure this is balanced. Because I don't want it to get all squirrely on me. Right, so we have the same number of thrusters on each end of the same type, so we have even thrust on both sides. So that should keep us balanced while we're flying. Alright. So now we need a vehicle that will get this off the ground. And we're going to need to put this in a fairing. Let's see. Expanded fairing base large. That sounds like something we're going to need. Yes. Although that gets to be a bit weird, doesn't it? Okay. And what does that look like if we throw... That's a big payload fairing. Okay, I think this is a 3.75 meter part. Let me see. Let's see. Filter by cross-section profile. Let's see. Let's look for our 3.75 meter parts, which we do have a bunch. Excellent. That is a 3.75 meter part. All right. So, engines. Oh, we actually have these guys. Reaction wheels. That's perfect. Though, it does seem to be a bit tricky to select just the reaction wheel. There we go. Okay, that'll work. Now, as far as engines, that uses monopropellant. Let's see. There is that. 965 meters per second of delta V. Off of that tank. But that should be good. Alright, we're going to need a stacked decoupler, right? And then we're going to need the bigger fuel tank down here. And what kind of engines are we going to need? Let's see, the Titan T1. 1.52 thrust to weight gets us 1100 meters per second of delta V. What if I were to go with you? It's probably not needed. We can probably go with this guy. But this guy looks cooler. Alright, then you win. Excellent. But that's going to only get us 1,000 meters per second. We're going to need more thrust. Okay. So, what could we do? We could slap some tanks to the side. These guys? A bit too tall, maybe? Let's see, how do they compare? Let's see. If we were to throw these guys on there with these tanks, these side tanks, are they centered? I don't think so. Doesn't look like it. That looks better. Okay. And then if we were to throw those engines on there, what are we looking at? Fire those first, attach them, fire this. We're looking at 1.98 thrust to weight with 852 meters per second of delta V. Okay. For 4 of those? Alright. 6 of them. That's probably the most we can do. Is 6 of them. When in doubt, more boosters. Okay. Now we're looking at 2.51 with 1100 meters per second. We're getting better. Okay. Do I need these engines? Oh, that's... Do I need those engines? Can I go with a more better engine? That seems like it's more of a vacuum optimized engine. Thrust to weight, 1200 meters per second. Or 280. This is a 290. The Mastodon is a 290 specific impulse. No, not that engine. It was this engine? Yes. This engine, the Maverick, has 280 specific impulse. So 1242 versus... Oh, come on. $223. 1.85. Thrust to weight. Versus 1.90242. So I think those are actually better. They give enough, what we want. And then, of course, we have tons and tons and tons of fuel in this that we can use should it be necessary. Alright. Well, one thing we're actually going to also need here are little separator motors to push these guys away when they separate, to prevent them from banging into the center stage and causing all kinds of problems. Okay. So those motors actually need to fire on that stage. And this one needs to ignite there. We could probably also use... could also use these guys on that stage there. To push this lower tank away when it disconnects. Okay, we are also going to need control here. We're gonna need some control. And probably just a little bit of battery. A little bit of battery. Alright. This is going to be the Duna propulsion module. Save it. Okay. And let's go ahead and get those fairings on there. Do I want this particular type of fairing? Yeah, sure, we'll go with that one this time. That is ridiculous looking. Alright. Oh, and we also need launch clamps. There we are. Launch clamps. Okay. I think with that, we are gonna be good. So, what I think we'll do is actually save the launch of this vehicle and the rendezvous and docking for this for next episode, because we're at a good time to go ahead and stop. This is actually probably a good stopping point as well. So, we're going to be launching the largest and most powerful rocket we have ever built next episode. So for now, I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Go ahead, like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you next time.